Welcome to From Caving In to Crushing It, the podcast for those who find themselves immersed in adversity and choose to write their story instead of having others write it for them. I'm Drew Duraney, and I'm your host. Scott, so good to see you.
Good to see you, Drew. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, my friend. And I always want to thank the person who introduced me to my guest. So Jim Swan, thank you so much for the introduction to Scott Raven. You were right on target, man. Good idea to introduce us. So thanks
Good
again.
people know good people in this world.
Absolutely, Scott. So why is Scott here? You know, folks, you guys know I always talk about how when we're young, we're taught that life is linear. If we do certain things in the order that people tell us, A plus B plus C, D is going to happen. You know, and life is linear until it's not. Inevitably, an external circumstances gets in the way of one of those letters and kind of derails us. And that straight path in life is now more circuitous.
Mhm.
And when that happens, we have a choice to make. We either do something about it or we don't. Sometimes we don't even see the adversity and we just go about living. And I truly feel there's three types of men out there. There's man number one, who's got a ton of blind spots, doesn't even notice the adversity, just thinks that this is life, this is the way I have to live it, and he goes through life on autopilot. And then there's man number two. He has a more heightened self awareness. He sees the adversity, yet he's the victim. Everybody and everything is to blame. Life's doing it to me. I have no control over this. I can't do anything. I'm just going to live life the way it is. And when he gets on his deathbed, he's got a ton of regrets because he knew he could have done something. And then there's man number three. That's Scott Raven. Man number three sees the adversity, has even a more heightened self awareness, and says, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. This adversity is not a barrier, it's an opportunity to do something different and become a stronger man in the end. So, Scott, I'm going to ask you to reach back as far as you need to for that defining moment.
Sure.
That moment that it was either the tap on the shoulder, the whisper in the ear, like I needed, the two by four upside my head
Sure.
to transition you from man number one or two to the man you are now, personally, professionally. Love to hear that story, my friend.
Absolutely. And thank you, Drew, for allowing me to share my story with you and your listening audience. And in many respects, I've had to go through this metamorphosis multiple times. But the primary one that we'll focus on was when I had my significant health scare back in 2017 that we'll lay out the punchline first, which was on December 21st, 2017. I was admitted to the hospital with severe chest pains, head pains, back pains, and a blood pressure of 180 over 110, and had to have a number of tests done on me to see if there was anything eminently fatal going on with
Mhm.
my body, and also having to take a look at my son as I was waiting for the results, thinking to myself, if this was the last moment that I had with him, what did I want him to hear from me?
Hmm.
So that's the punchline, right?
Yeah.
Now let's go back and say, how did we get there, right? So I live in Atlanta. I came down to Atlanta in 2005,
Okay.
and I did what is affectionately known as the Atlanta rotation.
Okay.
Bigger companies, bigger titles, bigger pay,
Hmm.
bigger responsibility, effectively chasing the brass ring.
Right.
And I was doing that quite well up until the beginning of 2017.
Okay.
In 2017, for the company that I was working with, they were going through a huge multi-billion dollar merger. And that, as with any big merger, you're looking for efficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not only blind to this, but I was also blind to what was changing in the work environment
Hmm.
around me. And ultimately, what had made me successful in the past was not going to be as valued in the future.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I continued to go on my merry way.
Mhm.
I had a poor relationship with my boss at that point, who, albeit that he tried to communicate this to me, really didn't care. he was more in self-preservation mode, for lack of a better term, right?
Mhm.
And ultimately came to a head when we got to June of that year.
Right.
And he and I are sitting down for my mid-year performance evaluation. And honestly, I was in phase number two at that point
Mhm.
of your journey, right? Where pretty much anything that he said, I wasn't listening.
Mhm.
I wasn't listening because in my mind, I was just thinking, this is your fault. This is your fault. This is your fault, right?
Yeah.
And, there's a good amount where I think that he could have done better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was not leading myself very well. I did not have great self awareness
Mhm.
nor self accountability
Right.
during that time. So ultimately, when the company decided to go through a reduction in force and my position was eliminated in that reduction in force in August, right? That at first I found it very cathartic.
Mhm.
I found it cathartic because I was able to get away from this
Right.
guy and this
Mhm.
environment and
Yeah.
whatnot, right?
Mhm.
Um, but then about 6 weeks afterwards, that the reality of that job had become such a large part of my identity.
Mhm. Yeah.
And now, who the hell am I?
Yeah. That's
What am I?
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, we do that.
And
Yeah.
I had this thought that I would go out, be independent. I'm smart. I'm likable. Gosh darn it, I can get this done.
Mhm.
But I had none of the tools, skill set, mindset that I had today.
Right.
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 And intrinsically, I was in a very deep, depressed state.
Mhm.
And that I worsened this by alcoholism
Oh,
to ultimately land me where I ended up in the hospital
okay.
with that severe hypertension.
Right.
So at that point, to your journey map,
Mhm.
right, you could do one of two things about it, right? You can either say, woe is me, this is
Mhm.
never going to get any better, right? Or you can address it.
Right.
And when I was going through the period of addressing it, which took me a good 6 months,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
There were significant metaphysical things that were going on in my body
Mm.
at that time
Right.
because the root cause of all of this was acute anxiety disorder.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember that in April of 2018, that I was getting prepped to run the Boston Marathon on
Oh,
behalf
wow.
of the Dana-Farber Marathon
Yeah.
organization,
Yeah.
charity that I had run for previously and loved being a part of it in terms of their dedication to
Right.
defying cancer. My mom lost her battle with cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And 8 days before the marathon, we start getting the weather reports that it is going to be miserable
Ooh, okay.
on Marathon Monday.
Right.
And my body, every single part of my body goes into pins and needles at the same time.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
I don't know why.
Why? Right.
And I'm freaking out. I'm talking to my doctors. They're doing blood pressure. Blood pressures are coming back normal. They're like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. I'm like, no, I'm not fine. Right. To all the rest of the world, I'm looking absolutely normal
Right.
and I'm not feeling
You know
fine.
you're not fine.
Right.
Right. Mhm.
Um, but to your point in terms of do you want to be the victim or not, right? I'm like, no, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to gut this out, right? And of course, the weather report was right. 40-degree temps,
Oh.
30-mile-per-hour winds, headwind, sleeting rain the entire time,
Wow.
right? It was a fun little trip
Of
between
course.
Hopkins and Boston, right?
Yeah.
But I look at that as a point of perseverance that I was able
Mhm.
to get through that under
So
those
you did. Okay. So
conditions.
you did run the race, the
I
marathon.
did, I did, I did, I did run the race, right? I actually ran it pretty well for my standards,
Good
right?
for you. Yeah.
Um, and it was that perseverance that allowed me to attack, with the help of the medical professionals, that root cause
Mhm.
of the acute anxiety.
Right.
And by the time that June rolled around, because acute anxiety, if you don't know how it manifests in the body, right?
Yeah.
It's just that your nervous system is completely out of whack,
Yep.
and you
Absolutely.
need to adjust it. And those things take time.
Yeah.
I didn't get my nervous system ready until June of 2018, right?
Okay.
And
After the hospital.
yeah, it took a good 2 months after the marathon.
Right. And then the
Um,
marathon.
but finally, my body was feeling good.
Yeah.
And with that, I was able to re-enter the workforce.
Okay.
And I had completed my first arc in your three-step journey process, excuse
Yeah.
me, right?
Yep.
Now, I say, and I want to make sure that I keep with your, relative episode length, right? That I've done this journey multiple times since.
Okay.
That position got eliminated in reduction in force, merger related. Nothing I could do in that one. Wrong
Right.
place, wrong time.
Yep.
But chose not to be the victim and chose to take a bet on myself and become a franchisee owner of an
Oh,
emerging martial arts
okay.
franchise.
Okay. I got it.
That
Wow.
that 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 did not work out either.
Okay.
So I had to exit that in
hmm
2022.
Wow. Okay.
And at first, you go through the where were you blind, where were you aware, right?
hmm
I certainly had a victim mentality in
hmm
terms of there was COVID, there was poor support from the franchisor, et
Yep.
cetera,
Yep.
right?
Yep. I
But
remember
once
that.
again, I did the work in the later part of 2022 to really do some hard self-reflection in terms of what could I have done better?
Right.
Where could I have held myself more accountable?
hmm
Where was I not aware of what I was trying to do that was not keeping me in my flow state?
Right.
And ultimately, all of these lessons now manifest themselves into what I do today to
hmm
bring all of these lessons learned to others who are in their spot of bother and that they're looking to get to their happy flow state
Okay.
professionally and personally. So I hope that answers the question.
It does. It absolutely does. And yeah, many men, I'll say most men, um, consider it a weakness to look for help with anxiety.
Yes.
And again, so many of us search for the fix of the symptom rather than the root cause, because it
Yes.
takes a lot of work to go deep down and find out that root cause, and it's something that men need to face as a strength,
They do.
because not addressing it, I believe, is the weaker part of it. But
I agree. I agree. It's if you went to the doctor, right?
yep.
And you knew something was significantly wrong with
Mhm.
you, but
Yeah.
you told the doctor, look, I don't really care about that. Just give me the pill in order to help me
Right.
feel good the next day,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay, fine. You've triaged it. You probably will feel better, right?
hmm
But you're not really addressing it.
Right.
And just like any drug, right? That benefit's going to wear off over time.
Very true.
And you're just going to
Yep.
feel worse and worse as you
hmm
go on.
hmm Yeah. No, it's so true. It's like the hangover will wear off, and the issue will still be there.
That is correct. That
And
is
so
correct.
I admire you for addressing root causes. So going into entrepreneurship, the
Yes.
venture to be your own boss, how was that transition after you walked away from the franchise?
So after I walked away from the franchise, you have to understand why did I choose that franchise
Yeah,
in
because
the
it's very
first
different.
place, right?
Yeah.
Part of it was that my son was going through the martial arts and loving it.
Okay.
And what I saw in that was the ability to have not only the potential for financial impact for my family,
hmm
but also community impact
Yeah.
in terms of serving others,
hmm
something that, quite frankly, I had never felt with any of the positions that I had in a corporate role,
Right.
right?
Right.
So the aims were legit, and they're still the same aims that I have today.
hmm
The vehicle was wrong.
Okay.
And the vehicle was wrong because what I needed to be skilled and proficient at
hmm
was not aligned with my strengths. I'm Clifton Strength certified, and that I know through what I've learned about the psychology in terms of where you're stronger and where you're less dominant,
Yeah.
and how that manifests itself in terms of the activities that you take on and where you are in flow,
Right.
that I was not in flow when I was going through that period of my life.
Sure,
I was
sure.
getting through serially on willpower and determination.
And then
And willpower
adrenaline.
has a shelf life.
Yep.
And if you
Yep.
use it too often,
Hmm.
you burn out.
Absolutely. Yep. I felt that burnout's real. Burnout's
Mhm.
real. And if you
Yes,
don't notice it's coming when it hits, um, yeah, it hits in all parts of your body. And it's interesting. There's a stat that I often share that 85% of physical ailments are due to unaddressed internal stress.
that's
And it
correct.
happens to most we men, where
That
we
is
don't
that
we
is
don't
correct.
recognize what's
And
happening.
related, 85% of the activity that goes on in your brain
Mhm.
is subconscious.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
think about it, it's not
Mhm.
controlled. It's your brain
Mhm.
doing its primal things to keep you alive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
It's
so
like it's
little
protecting
wonder,
you. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
that your brain is trying to give you the wake-up calls in terms of this isn't right, this isn't
mhm,
right, you're in danger, Will Robinson.
yep, yep. No, it's true. It's true. And the fact that men are 50% of the population and 80% of the suicides scares me because we men don't address the internal causes, and it's time to do it. It's time to that we men become more multidimensional rather than that one-dimensional man who's strong and can just do it and suck it
Yes,
up.
but I think a lot of respect that we are the byproducts of that messaging that we have received.
Yes,
Man up, embrace the suck.
absolutely.
No one wants to hear about your problems.
Hmm.
Deal with it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And it's little wonder, depending on which study that you take a look at,
Hmm.
that between 1 in 6 and 1 in 3 adult men admit they have no true friends in their life.
That's the scary part. And you do look at that. Men can have acquaintances or many friends more horizontally. You don't dig deep. Women tend to have those vertical friends where they dig deep, they grow those roots, and they really can really address the root causes. But men, yeah, we don't get deep, man. We'll talk about the sports and cars and everything on the surface. Um, and I don't know. I mean, I believe more men now are admitting, at least to themselves, that they need stronger friendships, except they don't know how to
Yes.
do it. We really have never
Yes.
been taught how to do it.
Well, they've never been taught how to do it because that is not what they received as the playbook for success, right?
Absolutely.
The
Yep.
playbook for success that they have received is go out, have a great career,
Hmm.
marry the beautiful woman,
Yep.
have kids, picket fence, etc.,
Hmm.
right? Um, for lack of a better word, that's a very possessional and transactional
Very, very
view
much so.
in
Very much
terms
so.
of what success
Hmm.
is
Hmm. Yep.
versus something which is relational
Yes.
and built on deep connection.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think that's where we need to do a lot of the work. Men like you and I need to address the differences between transactional and relational. And I
Yes.
think you have to have that balance. Yes, you need the financial stability and all that.
Yes.
It's not the end all or be all because I know many men who are wealthy and they feel empty inside,
That is correct.
you know?
That is
Yeah.
correct. That
Yeah.
is correct. And
So, yeah.
ultimately, at the end of the day, and this is
Mhm.
why, as part of the work that I do,
Mhm.
I talk about what is your integrated life that brings you harmony. One of the things that you'll hear me say is, I do not believe in balance.
Mhm.
Balance is a myth.
Mhm.
And the moment that you have balance in your life, wait 1 second, you're completely out of balance.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
that's
that,
true.
and that has nothing to do with you. That
Mhm.
has everything to do with the world around you that you
Absolutely.
can't control. What you can control is the way you integrate your thoughts, behaviors, actions across all the roles that you play in life to bring yourself harmony.
Absolutely. Yeah, the work-life balance is a myth. The 24 hours in a day, let's say we're awake 16 of them. There's gray areas, and I know so many people who have strengths at home and they forget about bringing those strengths to work and
Mm-hmm.
vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And blurring that line, I think, is important because we can take some strengths of us as human beings and bring it to the workforce and shine. I think a lot of men though are afraid to be themselves.
Well, you talk
They
about
wear those masks.
blind spots,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In terms of those things that other people see that you don't see.
Hmm.
Its opposite is what's called masks,
Right.
things you know
Hmm.
that other people don't know.
Right.
And that many, many people go into their arenas, work, home, whatever, with masks on
Yeah.
because they don't want their coworkers to see, hey, I'm a little bit scared or nervous. I'm a little
Hmm.
bit unsure in terms of what I'm asking you to do is going to be successful.
Right.
They are
Right.
scared when they get home in terms of, hey, I'm a little bit worried about the fact that I've been at the office for so long that I've got to explain to my wife that we're missing date night for the third time in a row,
Mm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I think it's a lot has to do with what are our priorities, and are our priorities set by ourselves, or do we allow the external world to set our priorities? And more often than not, men don't sit down with themselves and start to think, am I living my life the way I want to, or am I just doing it, living this life other people are telling me to do? More often
Which
than not, it's the
ultimately a
latter.
lot of that is the life that other people have
Mhm.
told you to do,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
that be your parents, particularly your father,
Yep.
whether that be the education system that has its roots in the Industrial
Yep.
Revolution.
Absolutely.
So it has its, basis in terms of let's produce capable workers to
Hmm.
improve the productivity of the workforce, right?
Yep.
And to be quite honest, I don't think a lot of men have a clear understanding of their desired identity.
No, I don't either.
And because they don't have that clear understanding, they can't answer this simple question. What are the five core values that are your non negotiables in life? Give me
Mm.
five words that are your non negotiables in life.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. Thinking, yeah, yeah, and it has taken me this long to at least get to three or four. But you're
Mhm.
right. We usually negotiate things that are important to us, not realizing we're doing it. That's a lot to do with that people pleasing that,
That is
I know
correct.
I've been guilty of. So how in your teachings, in your coaching, how do
Yes.
you assist men or empower men in determining what those five non-negotiables are? What's your approach?
So, yeah, a lot of it, and just to be clear for your audience, right? My target is traditionally men who have their own businesses, small to mid-size, typically between 10 to 20 employees,
Right.
and that this business that they've built that was supposed to provide them freedom has now become a prison for
Mm,
them, that
mm,
they feel like everything depends on them. They can't get away. They are working 70-hour weeks. They're missing family engagements,
mm.
etc. Right?
Right, right.
And at the end of the day, it becomes a case that they have not allowed themselves to step away and be able to let others help them drive the progression of that which is important
Mm.
to them. And it becomes the albatross around their neck.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So when we talk about what those core values are, right? A lot of it gets rooted, just like you're having this conversation,
Mm.
in terms of the path that we have been on,
Right.
our individual history,
Mm.
our direct experiences, which make us unique,
Right.
and how that shapes us over time, particularly during your first 14 years of life.
Okay.
The first 7 years of life, you're basically a sponge. You're absorbing
Yep.
everything that is coming at you
Very true.
and just trying to, bring it in.
Yeah.
From age 7 to age 14, you're doing a lot of testing. And this is why when you talk about, teenage years and
Mm.
whatnot, or at least tween years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That you're pushing back on some ideals because ultimately you are trying to say, of everything that I've absorbed in life,
Mm.
what am I going to keep? What am I going to reject? What am I going to create my own, et cetera, right? And by the time you get to about age 14, 90% of your identity is set.
Yeah. Yeah.
90% of your
Hmm.
core values are set. Now,
Hmm.
how you manifest that self in terms of purpose, action, job, etc.,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
That'll change over time,
Yeah.
right, with
Yeah.
the seasons.
Right.
But 90% of that core is set by age 14.
Now, when you say set, the awareness is very important because many people that age are not aware that
That's
it's
correct.
set. I think it's less than 1% challenge themselves to say, "Is this the life I'm living because I want to, or somebody else's?" Now you can challenge it, but
Right.
for the most part, we allow it to be set because of lack of awareness.
We do. We do. But also, as we go forward from that age,
Hmm.
right,
Hmm.
that that is going to get adjusted
Hmm.
based on what environment you are,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, how that identity and how those core values play themselves out in high school is
Hmm.
going to be different than how it plays itself out in college. It's
Absolutely.
going to be different than how it plays itself in young adulthood.
Hmm.
It's going to be
Hmm.
different. It's going to be different in terms of the initial years of your marriage or the
Right.
initial years of being a parent, etc. Right? But while the environments change over time, the core root of what you believe
Yeah.
stays pretty
Hmm.
consistent,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Now, it
Hmm.
gets augmented as you go, but it stays pretty consistent.
Yeah, and then it'll stay consistent, and then the determination of whether it's negotiable or not will waver depending on how confident you feel in your own skin, how you're
That's correct.
developing that self-identity. Is that self-identity developed from your inner core, or are you allowing others to shape that self-identity?
That
Which,
is
like you
correct.
mentioned, with the business, with your job and your significant other,
That is correct.
many men look to the outside to determine their worth.
That is correct. And a lot of it, right? You say external validators of
Mhm.
worth,
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
job,
Yep. Hmm.
your compensation,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
number of people that you have
Hmm.
reporting up to
Hmm.
you,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
All of the external
Hmm.
awards and
Hmm.
accolades
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatever memberships to country club, whatever all that
Yeah.
is, right?
Yeah. You know what? It even
Those are
extends
all
into
those are all
social
external
media.
validators, right?
Well,
And I
even in
right,
social media, how many likes did your post get? Who cares?
yeah,
You know?
right. Now
But
now
many,
sometime now I will say this.
yeah.
Some external validators are important. Let's take
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
for example.
Yeah.
Money is an external validator.
Hmm.
Somebody is providing you
Hmm.
a currency based on what you've done,
Value.
right?
Yeah.
And obviously that helps facilitate things in your life. So there are external validators that are important,
Yes.
not over internal validators.
Absolutely. So that's the difference. Yes, there are important external validations, but not more, they're not more important than the internal validations. Yeah.
Correct.
And it's finding that alignment in the two
Mhm.
that it's not really a balance, it's that alignment that we're
Correct.
looking for. Um, I would say that the audience certainly has captured the essence of Scott Raven. I know I have. And guys, get in touch with Scott. Go to LinkedIn. You can DM him or go to his website at corvussolutions.co. Corvus solutions.co. That'll go in the show notes. Now, I'd like to promote Scott here because he is looking to really work with and empower fellow family oriented men who feel that they are lacking that control in their life. They're working hard and something just doesn't feel right. And they are looking for a different, they're looking for that freedom. You want to elaborate a little bit on your ideal,
Sure.
let's say, client that you'd want to
Sure.
work with?
I call this concept the concept of empower,
Hmm.
and that I believe that there are four key verticals that are associated with one's legacy:
Hmm.
your career or profession,
Right,
your holistic health, not just physical, holistic,
right.
your wealth, and your connection.
Hmm.
And that those pillars have multiple phases.
Right.
They have how that relates to yourself, how that relates to your tribe, so
Hmm.
that's your family, your close
Right,
friends, etc.,
right. Hmm.
and then how that relates to your community.
Mm. Okay.
What I see with a lot of men is they put an over focus, particularly on career
Mm,
and wealth,
mm,
at the expense of holistic health and connection.
connection.
And
Yeah.
to what we've talked about here, that they put an over focus on the external validation. How does the community of their employer
Mhm.
judge their worth
Right.
versus how they judge themselves?
Mm-hmm. I love
So
it.
when we talk about empower and we talk
Yeah.
about the journey that I lead business leaders and owners on, it starts with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with, are you effectively leading yourself? Do you have the proper self awareness, self belief, and
Mm-hmm.
self accountability
Right.
such that you are progressing yourself in the right manner,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of anything else that's going on? And then
Mm-hmm.
when you have that proper foundation, are you giving those benefits first to your tribe
Mm-hmm.
before you give it to your community?
Mm-hmm.
Are you the type of person who says, this will benefit my wife and family far before it benefits the people that I'm working for? And
Right.
that's the
Right.
way that you think about things, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Once you
You're in.
have that alignment in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the way that you approach it
Mm-hmm.
and the way that you put yourself into flow by what you are naturally good at,
Mm-hmm.
then you can have the ability to prioritize your life effectively. You can have the ability to delegate and schedule those things which don't require your immediate attention.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability to integrate multiple roles into your life
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to letting one role be dominant at the expense of everything else.
That's a good
And at
point.
the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
when you get to that state of empowerment and you look
Yeah.
at the legacy that you're able to build,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to uplift others professionally because you're able to send the elevator back down.
I
You're
love
able
it.
to personify holistic health across multiple dimensions. You're able to channel your wealth into the causes, the organizations, the people that you care about.
Mm-hmm.
And you're able to be an inspiration to others around you in your community.
Wow.
That to me
Yeah.
is the target.
There you go. There you go. And it's doable. It's doable, folks. We have more control over our life than we give ourselves credit for.
Mm.
Um, all right. So I have two final questions for you, Scott.
Shoot.
First one, put yourself in your happy place. You're sitting down with that 7 to 10 year old Scott,
Right.
right? The sponge. You want to give him advice about life. What are you
Right.
going to tell him knowing what you know now?
Just don't take yourself too seriously. I mean, when I think about age 7 to age 14 and how bent out of shape I got over the littlest things and that I had a lot of emotional growing to do,
Yeah.
right? Just don't take yourself too seriously. And don't feel like you have to be stellar in everything, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
if I had to do it over again, right? As much as I feel very accomplished in terms of how I can use my brain to bring wisdom to the
Mhm.
world,
Mhm.
I would have hit the gym more. I would have played with friends more, that
Mhm.
sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So,
I love it. I love it.
mhm,
All right, switch hats.
mhm.
Now you're sitting down with young businessman, young entrepreneur Scott Raven. You want to give him advice about business. What are you going to tell him?
You can't go far without others. And that as much as you have learned as an individual, there's a lot that you don't know. And unless you want to learn things the hard way,
Mhm.
seek out those people who are your trusted advisors
Mhm.
to help guide you.
Love that. Absolutely. Yeah. Surround yourself with the right people and go to them often. I love that,
That's it.
Scott. Scott, I want to thank you for coming on, coming into
My
my
pleasure, Drew.
life. Again, Jim Swan, thank you so much for introducing us. Scott, keep doing what you're doing. Take care of yourself. I love how you have that inner focus and you can then share and shine on others Let's help those men in our community. So thanks again for being who you are, Scott.
My pleasure.
Everybody out there, please take care of yourselves. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and give us a review to help others find it. I'd like you to answer this question. Are you living the life you want to live, or are you living the life others want you to live? I'd like you to think about that for a second, because I strongly suggest you live the life you want to live. If you want to learn more about what I stand for and my services and how I'm able to help many men get out of their own way, please go to my website at www.profitcompassion.com. Feel free to also email me at drew@profitcompassion.com. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Take care of yourself and choose to write your own story instead of letting others write it for you.